I guess it connected with so many people, and like I always presumed we would be kind of like a cult band.
This is the story of a group of pals from Glasgow who formed a band and changed the face of British music.
We were celebrating. There was something to celebrate, like, every day.
A band who started off playing gigs in friends' bedrooms and soon found themselves performing at the Grammys and touring the world to millions. It's a story of risk, intuition and reinvention, told for the first time by the band themselves in exclusive new interviews with a little help from their friends, collaborators and those they've inspired.
Take me out!
It just felt like a really exciting time. Like, where the hell is this going to go?
And it was like, what is going on right now? Like, wait, what? How are we gonna get our foot in the door when there's another, seemingly there's this other beast?
Yeah, I was wondering if you're going to bring that up.
I'm Rose Matafeo, comedian, writer, actor, and Franz Ferdinand mega fan. Here to show my love for the band after I was kicked off their official internet message board as a teenager. But all is forgiven. This is Words So Leisured, the story of Franz Ferdinand. Part 4. Always Ascending. Spring 2011, and after an extended period of not talking to one another, Alex Kapranos and Bob Hardy have arrived on Orkney, a group of beautiful, rugged islands off the very northern tip of Scotland. The isolated landscape is a dramatic one, for a dramatic occasion. A conversation about the questionable future of Franz Ferdinand. Singer and guitarist Alex Kapranos.
When the band came together, like Bob and I were very, very close. Like we were best friends, and over the course of the next few years, I guess we became a little estranged from each other, or rather, we both did that very British thing, a very male thing of not talking about what's going on around about you. And so I guess there were like petty resentments that kind of like had been building up, and that neither of us had spoken to each other about. And we both sensed that there was a tension between us that was developing. And something triggered it. I think it was around about the time of I remember it was around about the time of my 39th birthday. I remember just saying to her, come on, right, we just need to talk about this. Let's go and meet somewhere. And so we said, right, okay. And we said, let's go somewhere where neither of us have been before. So it's on neutral territory, and so we both literally sat and looked at maps and said, like, where have we both not been before, but we fancy going? And we both decided on Orkney, and we just walked and walked and walked.
There's a lot of water passing under the bridge, and there were things that had gone unspoken about for a long time, like tensions within the band. We are like, typical British men. We don't talk about our emotions, so we were ignoring, you just kind of like shut up and get on with it, rather than when things were pissing you off, like say, I don't like this, I don't like that. It was more just like, just hold it all in. And so Alex and I, who hadn't really hung out for a year or more, walked around for 2 days, sort of talking about the band. Actually, it was kind of like when we were getting the band together, we talked about music, blah blah blah. How we should have, if we went, what we had done wrong, what mistakes we'd made along the way, what we would do differently, how we could like get around this problem, and it was good. It was just like it was a conversation we should have been having conversations like that all the time. That's how I think if there was a HR department in Franz Ferdinand, a lot of issues would have been resolved, but there isn't. So it's up to us, and we haven't always been great at talking about stuff.
And yeah, we just got it all out over a couple of days. We just walked around that rugged landscape and it was great. It was such a good thing to do, and I felt closer to Bob than I ever had before after that time, and it felt that the band was much stronger. I knew we were going to work it out, but I didn't know in which direction we were going to work it out. I didn't know whether we were going to work out how to stop the band, or whether we were going to work out our differences and continue the band, and it turned out to be the latter situation.
The story goes that after one of Alex's and Bob's walks, they retired to a pub in Orkney. And whether by coincidence or because they'd been spotted by a fan or two, their debut album began to play on the jukebox. However it happened, and whatever the effect it had, you don't need me to tell you that, thankfully, the two old friends worked it out. The whole band did. For a time, at least. We'll get to that. But for now, there was a new album to make, in another completely new way. Released in August 2013, Right Thoughts, Right Words, Right Action saw the band push themselves to mix things up once again. Rather than teaming up with one producer for an extended period of time, they recorded small batches of songs with a number of people. Alexis Taylor and Joe Goddard from Hot Chip, Todd Terje, Mark Ralph, and Bjorn Ytling from Peter, Bjorn and John. The Orkney Peace Talks had worked wonders, and for the first time in as long as they could remember, the band felt like they could breathe again, that the pressure had eased, that they were simply four friends making music together, connected by the joy of creating. Guitarist Nick McCarthy.
We all had calmed down a little bit, I think, which was really, really important, and wasn't all like we weren't like felt like we had to deliver, like it was. Felt a little bit like when we first met, really, as well. The fourth record, it was really quite easygoing, and it was that was a nice time. I think we all realised that on the fourth album, that we just write the songs that we feel are good.
It's like a lot of worlds existing side by side on that record, which I really love about it. And some things like things like Stand on the Horizon in particular, that song sounds like nothing we'd really done before, and I really love how that turned out.
How can I tell you I was wrong? How can I tell you I was wrong? I am the proudest man ever born. I stand on the horizon.
The band even managed to tour the album without driving themselves into the ground. And it was whilst on the road in 2014 that a chance encounter reignited a forgotten collaboration between Franz Ferdinand and brothers Ron and Russell Mael, collectively known as American art pop duo Sparks. Filling in the backstory of the project that became the perfectly titled FFS in 2015, here's drummer Paul Thompson.
The FFS was never really intended to be anything other than like a couple of songs. We'd initially met Ron and Russell in LA after Alex had written a piece for the NME about propaganda, which was like a sort of big album for him growing up and for me growing up as well. They read that, and I guess at this point Franz Ferdinand was hot shit, and they got in touch through our label and said, they'd like to meet the band, and we had lunch with them in LA and talked about writing songs for each other. We played a show at the Wiltern in LA, and Ron and Russell came down with a boombox, and we're like, we've written this song for you, and it was called Piss Off. At the time when they played us, Nick, who's obviously English but grew up in Germany with kind of almost with English as a second language, was trying to sort of remark on the pathos within the track, and ended up telling them that he thought the song was pathetic. And so we never heard from them for 10 years until Alex bumped into Ron and Russell on the street in San Francisco just by chance. He was looking for a dentist.
We were on tour in Latin America, and I broke a tooth, like a tooth of mine snapped off. and our tour manager said, like, hang on 2 days and we'll be in San Francisco, and I've got a pal who's a tour manager and he tour manages Hugh Lewis in the News. I'll ask him who Hugh Lewis's tour manager is, who Hugh Lewis's dentist is, and we'll send you that. He'll be a fucking good... Hugh Lewis has got great teeth. He'll sort you out. So I went to San Francisco and I had written on a piece of paper this address of this dentist where I was going. And for some reason, I don't know, like whether an earthquake had knocked out some houses on the street, I don't know, some reason the numbering wasn't right on the street, like some of the numbers were missing. So I was confused trying to find this dentist, and I was walking up and down this block, and then I heard this voice going, "Alex?" And I turned around and it was Ron and Russell and Russell's girlfriend, and said, "Alex, is that you?" And I was like, "Oh God, yeah. Hi Ron, hi Russell." It's like, yeah, it's me. Like, what are you doing in San Francisco? I'm looking for a dentist. Blah, blah, blah. And and we got chatting, and they said, "Oh, we're playing this gig tonight. Do you want to come down?" So I went, "Yeah, I go on. I'll get my tooth sorted out, and we're not playing tonight." So we went down to see them play. In the dressing room afterwards, we started chatting and saying, "Wow, I haven't seen each other for 10 years." And we talked about doing a song together, and we were like, "We should do that." And this time, instead of just talking about it, we actually did it, and we started sending songs to each other. And then songs just started going back and forward very, very quickly at that point.
What was originally meant to be a collaborative song or two quickly snowballed into a whole album as Alex and Nick and Ron and Russell sent files back and forth across the Atlantic, between Glasgow and LA. Artists from different bands had collaborated before, of course, but never quite like this, combining two separate groups in their entirety to create a whole new band. They even committed to taking the new band around the world and making their videos together. Spark singer Russell Mael and keyboardist Ron Mael.
The bands that we've tended to respond to the most are the ones that, create their own universe sort of with what they're doing, and that kind of there's style, but then style with substance, and if it's just style alone is kind of easy to do, but to have style with substance is something that, throughout pop history, I think that's been the bands that have been the most exciting, the ones that are able to kind of touch on every element of being in a band that's important, like album covers are important, how you present yourself on stage is important, lyrics are important, videos are important. And so, and creating your own kind of mythology surrounding what you do. And I think that, Franz Ferdinand, have certainly done that.
You never know, and I don't think we could have we could collaborate with almost any other band, and it was a really unique situation where it wasn't just working with another band. We actually were forming a new band, FFS, composed of the members of those two bands, and that's different than what most other bands that have collaborated have done. And so there was a real commitment to be making a unique statement with that album.
And then we met up and recorded it, and it was just fantastic. It was really, really great.
FFS, the album, was recorded quickly in late 2014, with a world tour booked for the following year. But in January, before they hit the road, Nick McCarthy came to the rest of Franz Ferdinand with news. After fulfilling his FFS commitments, he'd be leaving the band.
I remember Bob and Paul came over to mine, and we sat down and we said, "Well, what do we do?" I was like, "How do you two feel?" And they were like, "Well, we're really shaken by this, but we still feel creatively engaged." And we started playing some music, and it was like, "Oh no, this feels good. This still feels good." And strangely, after each of these situations, you feel invigorated and refreshed, because it makes you readdress what you're doing and why you're doing it. And it felt immediately after that, we were suddenly engaged again and kind of focused and kind of knew what we were doing and why we were doing it, because we had to ask ourselves those questions.
My life with Franz Ferdinand, or in Franz Ferdinand, was an amazing time. It was, I'd say generally, it was brilliant. We had a total blast. We did the most insane shows. I mean, my favourite show was a show we did in Rio. It was just like mayhem from front to back. Just an excessive moment of pleasure. You know, it was just and I suppose it was an hour and a half of just ecstasy. Really, yeah, it was really unbelievable. Cool band.
Bassist Bob Hardy.
So we finished Sparks in, say, I don't know, late October 2015. And then Alex, Paul and myself started meeting up at his studio. We went down before Christmas. I'm like, well, what are we going to do? Will we make another Franz record? And the idea was, well, why don't we just try some writing and see what happens?
We sort of thought, well, maybe it would be good to get somebody else on board as well. Certainly somebody new who would have a completely different perspective.
Hello, I'm Julian Corey. I play keys and other bits in Franz Ferdinand, and I joined in 2016. I was quite nervous, and I think because it wasn't just a rehearsal place, it was Alex's house. It was quite... I was a bit nervous. I think I remember taking my guitar down because I was like, well, I guess they need a guitarist, so I'll take my guitar. And then we set up, we got there and chatted for quite a long time just about music and stuff. And then we were like, should we play something? And then I got my guitar out and they were like, oh no, do you want to have a go at the keys? And I was like, I mean, yeah, that's kind of my main thing, you know. So just from the first day or so of playing together, it just kind of became obvious that it was going to work.
Julian Corey came highly recommended from a number of independent sources, including Stuart Braithwaite of Mogwai and members of cult Glasgow band The Delgados, who'd been releasing Julian's electronic project Meow Meow on their legendary label Chemical Underground. By the end of 2016, the band were ready to go into the studio and record their 5th album.
I remember the first time we started playing with Julian, like the buzz was like, oh, this is great. This feels really fucking good.
That was another thing I liked about his music so much. It was electronic, but it was really like sweet melodies and like, you know, brilliant voice and like really great melodies on top of electronic music. And it was just like, it was a lovely combination.
This feels like a great band, a different band.
Always Ascending saw the band explore more of their electronic side, which drew them once again to a new producer, a pioneer in French dance music, the legendary Philippe Zidar.
You just love the sound of the records that he's made. I was obviously a massive fan of Cassius and the fact that he was involved in that kind of French touch kind of house music of the 90s, which when that all kind of kicked off was really exciting. And I guess we just wanted to kind of tap into that kind of energy. I'd never met him before, so I wasn't expecting that personality. But it's quite odd, the four of us just being kind of holed up together and then suddenly opening the door to introduce this absolute, like, I mean, a force of nature is putting it mildly.
He was one of these characters who just being in the room brings the attitude and the vibe there. He had a wonderful spontaneity about him and energy, and I guess he also could see the joy in the music and he felt it. And I think after Nick had left the band, we needed somebody who could see that. I was like, all right, yeah, thank you for feeling that with us and making us share that with you. It was really good.
And also because he was, you know, it's Philippe Zidar, is kind of like legendary kind of like musician, and when he was into what we were doing, he was like, oh shit, maybe this is good, you know. And it's like, you know, and that was fun. It was just, he was like, wow, okay, cool. This is like, this feels cool. Like if Philippe's into it, you kind of lean into that.
Philippe was the kind of person who lived life very fully. Like he always wanted to have the best. Like it was like no, we want to live life in the best way we possibly can. He'd always say, no, it has to be the best. Like if it's the compressor, it's like no point using that compressor. We have to use this compressor because this is the best compressor for what we want to do on the drums here. And so that was his attitude to the recording studio. But he would apply that to everything in his life. And so I'd kind of jokingly ask him things like, hey, Philippe, I was thinking of having a croque monsieur, like the French toasty, like it's a ham and cheese toasty. And it's like, croque monsieur, you must have the best. You cannot eat a croque monsieur around here. We are in the 18th. You need to go down to the other side of Paris. You need to go to the 12th, and I will show you where you have the best croque monsieur in Paris. And you cannot eat another. You can have no other croque monsieur. And then another day I'd sort of say, hey, Philippe, I'm thinking of getting a new pair of socks. And he's like, socks, right? There's one place I know in the second, and they are the best socks in the world, and you can wear no other socks. I promise you, they will change your life. And I love that. Like everything was like we have to do the thing that will change your life, and yeah, I like that. And I guess I recognize something in myself there as well. I was like, yes, fucking go for the thing that's gonna change your life. Don't be satisfied with the thing that's for an ordinary life.
With the album complete and the band ready to tour, they publicly announced not just the addition of Julian Corry into the lineup, but also an old friend on guitar, Dino Bardo. Franz Ferdinand were a 5-piece for the first time, re-energised and continuing to evolve. Bob Hardy again.
I've known Dino for years. Like, I remember coming to a party in my flat when I was a student, and him being really, really sniffy about the wedding present that I'd put on stereo. But anyway, I've forgiven him. And Alex had gone to a birthday party of Charlie, actually. We'd done music with early on with Franz. And Dino put together like a covers band to play this party. And Alex went down and was like, oh my God, this is an amazing guitarist. And I'd seen him play a few times in various bands. And we're like, well, yeah, like, should we just see if he was up for playing guitar, just like coming on tour?
I've got a kind of very ramshackle occasional function band.
Guitarist Dino Bardo.
We'd been playing songs for Charlie's birthday, and indeed with him in the band. And because Alex is kind of quite good pals with Charlie, I'd asked Alex to come and sing a song, and he came and Charlie's a massive Springsteen fan, so Alex came and did I'm on Fire with me and my pal Tim. But then so he was there at the party, and I think it was pretty much my performance of Purple Rain by Prince, vocals and lead guitar, showing off at the end of the night, that got me to maybe Dino could be the person.
Certainly when Julian and Dino joined, the sort of freshness that they brought was really incredible. I mean, the first tour, US tour that we did with them in 2017 was probably my favourite tour I've ever done in my life.
It re-energised us, I think. And it's, you kind of, as we were doing it for the first time with them, it was like doing it for the first time again for us. It was fun,
Dino and Julian have since settled into their distinctive roles within the band, as Franz Ferdinand work on what will become their 6th album. You can hear them on the new songs Billy Goodbye and Curious, 2 songs recorded for the band's 2022 Greatest Hits album, Hits to the Head. But there's one more lineup twist that we need to talk about. In late 2021, drummer Paul Thompson confirmed that he had left the band. It came after a year and a half of the global COVID-19 pandemic, a period of great change and reflection for all of us.
Yeah, I think they probably were taken aback. Well, they said they were, and I believe them. But I guess I'd been sort of thinking about it for a while, and I just the sort of lifestyle I was finding quite sort of detrimental to my mental health and kind of sort of trapped in a cycle, and I just kind of wanted to break that cycle and move on and do something else. I think it was definitely kind of cemented in lockdown, having this enforced break away from everything, kind of guilt-free. And at that point, that was the first time I'd really had the opportunity to sort of process the last 20 years and sort of reflect upon it and sort of think about what I wanted to do from here on in. I was mainly touring. I just didn't want to tour anymore.
Bob Hardy again.
We were going to record some 2 songs to go on the best of, and there was a bit of a deadline for this because of the COVID kind of delays with vinyl and all this. You have to have things like months in advance. It's crazy. So we had a bit of a deadline. So we met up to work on these songs that Alex had been working on demos with over lockdown. Yeah, Paul just he just wasn't into it. I don't think he just stormed out one day, and then didn't come back. Left his phone and everything, and then his wife texted me and was like, "Hey, do you want to come around for a coffee in the morning?" I was like, "Okay, here we go." And then so I went round, and he just kind of said, I don't want to go on the road, which is fair enough. A lot of things have changed. A lot of people have reevaluated what they're doing. The idea about that and then leaving that and leaving his kids again and disappearing for 18 months was just seemed like insanity to him. I was devastated. Really, really upset. When I drove to the rehearsal then, and I had to tell the others. It's like, Paul's not going to come back. Alex was like, "Does anyone else want to continue, or do you want to call it a day?"
I remember turning to Bob again, but this time to Julian and to Dino, and saying, "Well, how do you feel? Are you still thrilled by this?" But also asking myself, "How do you feel? Are you still thrilled by this?" And the answer in all these situations has been yes. And I know there's going to be another time in the future where I have to ask that situation. It might be yes, it might be no. We'll wait and find out. And then I remember when Audrey came in and started playing, it was like, wow, this is different. She's really cool. I love Paul, like one of my best friends, but and an amazing drummer, like an amazing musician. But Audrey's an amazing musician, a different amazing musician.
I got a phone call from Julian, and he was just like, we're kind of like needing a drummer. Are you around, like, just now?
Franz Ferdinand's new drummer, Audrey Tate.
And I was like, yeah, kind of. I had a thing to do in the afternoon. I was like, I can come along later today. And he was like, yeah, could you do that? And I was like, yeah, sure. So he sent me the couple of songs that he was working on, one of which was Billy Goodbye.
Don't forget the best bits. Bye-bye, Billy Goodbye. When it comes to
And yeah, I toddled along in the evening, and and it was quite surreal, to be honest, because obviously, like, I know the band and I'm like into their music, and it was quite a weird moment. But I think because there wasn't a huge build up, it was all like really quick, so it was just like I got called, and then literally that night I'm sitting playing the drums, so there wasn't really a moment to let that sink in. It was just like, that's what I'm doing today.
Guitarist Dino Bardo.
Julian mentioned Audrey, and I was just like, oh yes, totally Audrey. She would be amazing, because I didn't know her, but I'd seen she played in this hip hop band, Hector Berserk, and I'd seen them a couple of times. But I remember thinking at the time, wow, I'd love to play in a band with her. She's just an absolutely incredible drummer. It's just such a good feel. And so Julian mentioned her name and said, oh, he kind of knew her. I was like, well, yeah, we should do that. And then everything flowed very smoothly from that point.
And then just kind of at one point, Alex was just like, so like, would an international tour be something like of interest to you? And I was just like, yeah, like, obviously.
again, I think I've said this probably quite a few times over the course of these conversations, that it's your instincts which tell you if something's right. You just know. And you've got to be light about that. You have to be agile enough to respond to what your instincts are telling you. What makes me feel excited about the next bit is how it feels in the room when we all play. You know, it just feels good, it feels natural, and it feels exciting.
The story of this extraordinary band started 20 years ago in a kitchen in Glasgow. It's now 2022, and Franz Ferdinand feels stronger than ever, touring for the first time with Audrey, Dino, and Julian in the band. And when they're not on the road, they're back in the studio once again, working on a brand new 6th album.
You're lucky, lucky, you're so lucky.
They've taken over crumbling buildings to host DIY shows, won Brit Awards and the Mercury Prize, and have played to millions of fans across the world. And in doing so, they help to resurrect and reinvent British guitar music for the new century. Not bad for a band that started out as a bit of fun. Or maybe that's been the secret to their success.
I didn't think of it in terms of a career. You know, it was just, I made music because it was a laugh. And that's how Franz Ferdinand started. I was making it as a laugh. I was making it because it was fun. That's the way it should be made. It should be made because it brings you joy. And if you work that out, the other stuff will come. If you're making it because you feel like you're making something that brings you joy, it'll probably bring other people joy. If you do it the other way around, then you fuck up.
It started off as a group of friends who were sitting around a party, and that's the genesis of the band. And it feels like that all the way through. And I think at the point that ever stops or a member feels that, you know, there's other things in life that they need to do, so that they move on. But the people involved in Franz Ferdinand at any given time, it always feels like that sort of core aim to just do something fun and artistic.
You know, there's so many bands come and go, and there are flashes in the pan and things like that. But to be able to continue to make great music is, you know, something to be really proud of too, I think.
You know, people are going to be talking about this band in 10, 20, 30 years' time, and here we are.
I owe, like, myself and the world to talk about this, because, I mean, it was and is a big thing.
It's been pretty wild. I mean, not many people are fortunate enough to have had the experience that we've had as a group and as individuals and as friends. I don't regret anything, really.
It's definitely a special thing to have 4 people in a room and it's just the sparks there, and that doesn't happen a lot, you know. That really doesn't. That's a real special thing. Yeah.
That's the arc up till this point. Now I don't need to look at it again. I understand it. I can continue working on the arc that's going to progress from here. And that's the main satisfaction that I get from all of this. It's just kind of like, right, okay, now that looking back is over, I can look forward again.
I'm Rose Matafeo, and this has been Words So Leisured, the story of Franz Ferdinand. The series producers were Stuart Stubbs and Greg Cochran. The lead researcher was Fergal Kinney. This has been a new allotment production for Domino Recording Company.